Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. Today, we're doing a scout report on potential new signing Ashley Young. I'm Ellis, and I'm joined by Luke Robinson from the Up the Villa podcast. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Cheers for having me on.
No worries, pal. He's set to sign now, it seems. He's either going to have signed by the time the videos come out, or he'll be very close because the rumours that he's having a medical today. So, looks pretty close. But he rejoined you guys just a couple of years ago from Inter Milan. How would you rate his return since he's come back? Because, of course, he's a lot older than he was when he first played for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of them where you have like a childhood hero coming back to your club because when he was here first time round, he was like obliterating the Premier League. He was, prime Ashley Young. Just it was fantastic, and he left and broke all our hearts. And then, he has an illustrious career. Smashes it at Man United, wins Premier League trophies. Again, he wins the league in Inter Milan, in Italy with Inter Milan. He had a great career there when he was there. And he comes back to Aston Villa where we were still trying to establish ourselves in the Premier League, trying to just survive and get better and better each season. And he came under Steven Gerrard, and that season we were quite poor, to be fair. And then last season he was brilliant, and he left us when we were all right, and then he's come back and we're back in Europe. So the fairy tale of Ashley Young at Aston Villa, it sort of like finished itself off, and he sort of, when like a player leaves, it breaks your heart, and then you they boo him when they come back and all that. He sort of made everybody love him again, which is, fantastic. So that's sort of where we're at with him, really.
Yeah, so he's obviously come back and he's not quite the same player that he was, but he's actually started 23 games last season, didn't he? And I want to know how he did last season because that's probably the best representation of where he's at now. Got great memories of him, of course, but how was he actually last season?
Well, I think when you look at some of like the great players in the Premier League, like really good ones, sort of players like nowadays, so like a Milner, that they start out as a winger and then they can progress to sort of like a fullback and sort of take it like a duck to water. And that's what Ashley Young did at Inter Milan and was doing at United. He sort of went further back, but could still do a fantastic job. So he came to Aston Villa sort of as a right back, and he was sort of meant to be like Ashley, Matty Cash's sort of like threat to the team, sort of, pushing him and etc., being like our second choice right back. But he ended up being sort of our first choice right back last season because Matty Cash got injured. Emery came in. Emery sort of wanted our right backs to be a little bit more defensive, and that sort of suited Ashley Young's style of play. Matty Cash wants to go more forward. So he played more games than a lot of people expected him to do, but he was brilliant. He was so good last season. His fight, his tenacity, his hunger in and around the camp. He's absolutely amazing. He's a real leader, and I think he's one of those where wherever he goes, he'd be a credit and such an asset to be in that dressing room. So I think he raises standards, he raises levels. He's great with the young players. So you see him like with Jacob Ramsey, and he's nurturing those and offering them advice. So last season he was really, really good, and a lot of Villa fans were annoyed that we sort of let him go.
Right, that's good to know that he's got some leadership qualities as well, because I think that's one thing that Everton fans are hoping from an older player, that he can nurture those young players. And we've got quite a few at the moment. We've got Nathan Patterson at right back, who's still quite young. Mikalenko's not too old either. And then Jared Branthwaite's returning from PSV. So there's a lot of young players actually coming back to Everton who hopefully Ashley Young could kind of guide and be the mentor for them. But there are some Everton fans who are quite sceptical about this signing. Initially, you see it and you think, a 38-year-old joining the club, a lot of fans would be a bit disappointed and thinking, are we just shopping in the bargain bucket again? What would you say to them?
See, I've watched a lot of Everton last season, and I was really willing and wanting Everton to stay up. I think Villa and Everton, we've got a really good relationship, haven't we? Really, I think we get on. Some
Yeah, we
clubs
do.
you don't like them, but Villa and Everton are one of them where that you like them. And from my observation on Everton is, you've had all those problems off field with the owners, etc. And, hopefully that's at some stage sort of going to be sorted out. But I think if Ashley Young's coming to Everton and the recruitment around the club is going to be good, so, like certain positions that you're going to improve on, then I think it would be a really good signing. But for me, if you're shopping in sort of like that market and the players that you're bringing in around him are going to be of that ilk, then I think you probably would have problems. But I think if you get the recruitment right, then, like I say, it'd be an absolute asset. And I think, yeah, I think it'd be a good signing for you.
For me, one of the biggest things is the fact that you don't want to be spending too much on the defensive positions, because we know that Everton's biggest issue is scoring goals last season. So if we do have a small transfer budget, I would rather us pick up a few frees and loans in them areas. So for me, that's ideal. And one of the key things with Ashley Young is that he is versatile. He said he used to play on the wing. I'm intrigued to know whether he still can, but he started off as a winger for you guys. I can still picture it now when you guys were in the top six with the Acorn shirt. That was when I first started watching football, really. So that's like quite good memories for me. But he's obviously playing fullback now. So how was he in those defensive roles? Because usually for a winger transitioning back, you might have some issues with tracking back. But how is he as a fullback nowadays?
Well, another thing that I'd say as well about Everton fans that don't want him, they probably remember that 3-2 goal he scored against you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like an iconic goal for Villa fans at Goodison. But like I say, I mean, last season under Unai Emery, he played, I think, in one game. So away at Anfield, I think it was our last away game of the season. He came on, he started the game at right back. He then moved into right midfield. We had an injury to left back. He then moved into left back. So in that game, he played like in three positions. And he is Mr. Versatile. Like, he can play left back. He can play right back. If you asked him, he'd play up front. He'd probably go in goal. Like, he'll literally play anywhere. So in that sense, you kind of need one of those players that can just like drop him in anywhere if you're struggling. So, and it does feel a bit like, it does feel like a Dyche signing. Like, it would really get on well in sort of like a Dyche system, I think. So, he's, interestingly, his other best game was against a player that you're also linked with, Willie Gnonto from Leeds. He absolutely had Gnonto in his back pocket. He was absolutely fantastic at Villa Park against Gnonto. So, yeah, he was really good against sort of like that pacey winger. His defensive positioning was great. And, yeah, he was fantastic in that game. So that just shows that, Ashley Young up against sort of like a real pacey winger. Don't just think he's going to get burnt out because he's 38. He's good at defending.
Well, to think Wilfred Gnonto's 19, so he's half his age, isn't he? And if he's dealing with him, then that's a good sign, isn't it? We've seen with Seamus Coleman, like, he's had his best season for us in a few years recently. Like, he had a bit of a dip and then suddenly he's come back and he's not as good as he was in the old days when he was bombing up and down, but he's still a really good player. And I think having Ashley Young, that versatile player, that older player, I think by the sounds of it, he can deal with top attackers as well. So having him in that team will give great competition for Mykolenko. For yourselves, though, obviously losing him, I've heard a few fans weren't too pleased that he's actually going. So are you guys upset that he's leaving?
It's a difficult one. As a player, yes. But I mean, I don't want to like any disrespect to sort of saying this about Everton, but the way in which the club's going, the direction that we're currently aspiring to be in, we qualified for Europa Conference and just this system in which he wants to play, I think we need better. Do you know what I mean? I really think we need a better player than Ashley Young now. And that's no disrespect to Everton, but that's just where we are and where we're thinking at the minute.
I think that reflects the situation, isn't it? You guys have overtaken us. You took our left back off us, and it was intriguing to see because Luca Dean has been playing for you guys, but you've also got the new left back Moreno. And to see Ashley Young start 23 games, of course, he's played in different positions, but has he actually been playing ahead of Dean at some points, or how has Dean been since he joined compared to Ashley Young?
Yeah, he's been okay. It's one of them where you're always wanting more. You're sort of thinking, come on now, push on. Like
Yeah, we did.
we know you've got a lot of potential, but let's. So basically how our system is, our right back tucks in, our left back goes forward and acts more of a winger. So we brought in Moreno. He plays a lot of the games, but Emery also rotates during the games as well. So he's not scared of sort of like taking off his left back and bringing on Luca Dean. So that they pretty much play, I'd probably say like 60-40 during matches. So Moreno will play like 60%, then Luca Dean comes on and plays another 40. So he really rotates it. So yeah, but he needs to kick on in a Villa shirt, Luca Dean. But yeah, we'll have to see how he does.
Yeah, well, we were disappointed to see him go, but now looking back, we probably made a good bit of money on him for what he became. He hasn't quite like set the world alight since going to Villa. But back to Ashley Young, if we look at how he plays, of course, he has got a lot of competition. You guys do have quite a lot of fullbacks, whereas we don't. But if you look at his play style specifically, what would you say are his strengths?
Defending. He's class.
That's
Like
good.
what 1v1, sort of like I said against Nonto. He did have a poor game against Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes blew past him a couple of times, but it's just a one-off game. But yeah, his defending, leadership, organisation, always talking. He scored a banger against Forest, so he can still finish. So yeah, it's just his defensive work really. I think is what he's all about now, and I think that's why Dyche has looked at him and thought, it's one of them. Like he's free. Like name a better free transfer that you can get than Ashley Young. With that amount of experience, that amount of know-how. Even if he's not playing, he's a valuable asset in the dressing room for his leadership quality. So, we made a free transfer in Tielemans, and if you can get these savvy free transfers, then like you said earlier, it sort of allows you to focus your funds elsewhere. And I think if you sign in Nonto and you let Sims go, didn't you? So it does look like you are going to need a striker because you can't rely on Mopai. I know a lot of your fans can't have Mopai, can they?
No.
So Calvert-Lewin looked decent when he come back, didn't he? So I think that's where you guys are looking to really strengthen.
Yeah, I think having a player on a free, like you say, it just saves the funds for elsewhere, and we know that we need the funds elsewhere. And it's interesting you talk about Young's defending because he started as a winger, but I think as you lose that yard of pace when you get older, I think you've got to really improve your defensive awareness because you have to be in the right position to then deal with things. If a player like Nonto or Barnes are quicker than you, you've got to be in the right place to deal with them, and that's a good sign for us. But if we look more negatively, what does he struggle at? Because surely as a 38-year-old and a player that you're letting go on a free, there's got to be some issues, hasn't there?
I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say there are any negatives really. I mean, the only negative is that he's not sort of like prime Ashley Young, but he's 38. He's still got a lot to offer. I mean, you've got to look at his sort of mentality of where he's at as well. He still thinks he can play in the Premier League, which is a big thing. I mean, so I think that's absolutely massive. I mean, he probably could have had an offer from Saudi, but he's decided to stay in the Premier League. But yeah, like I say, the negative would be if you don't recruit well in other areas. That would be my sort of negative about this transfer. I think you've got to make sure that they're strengthening elsewhere really as well.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing for the whole transfer window. But if we can get one thing sorted with this signing and perhaps a few things with multiple positions, I think he could be a good signing. But if you were Kevin Felwell or Sean Dyche now, would you say this is a good signing for Everton?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's got to be sort of like a light bulb moment at Everton, hasn't there? Because we've been in the exact same situation that Everton were in. We flirted with relegation season after season after season, and there's that one time that it absolutely gets you. So that's what I think about you guys, there's got to now be that realization of breaking through and changing this mold and this direction, because if you don't get it right, then it's only a matter of time before relegation gets you. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's a big season ahead now. It absolutely can't be like the last 2 years, because the last 2 years have been just too stressful. I've been going home and away last season, and it was really difficult to see us get beat at times. But with a full preseason ahead, I'm just really hoping we can make the signings that we need and kind of change the tide a bit and improve us, because we can't possibly have another season flirting with relegation, because like you say, you start circling the drain and eventually it'll get you. So for me, I'm just praying for a boring season next season, 14th, 13th, anything like that. Just no stress. That'd be ideal for me.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you look at this Ashley Young signing, and it's one of those signings where you know what you're going to get. It's not like you're signing someone and it's like, oh, is it going to work? We've paid this money. He needs time to settle. Ashley Young knows how to play football. He knows the pace of the Premier League. He knows what his body can do. Very rarely gets injured. So for someone like Sean Dyche, he knows that he can rely on an Ashley Young. So I think that already sets a really good foundation of a platform of something that you can build off, really. So I think it's a really good signing.
I really hope so, mate, and really appreciate you coming on doing this scout report for us, because a lot of Blues will have wanted to know what he's really like, because there is that initial reactionary response when you see a player being linked, but it's been really good giving your insight today and hearing from an actual Villa fan what he's like. But that's all for the scout report today. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe and let us know your thoughts. That's all for now. See you in a bit.